No taxation without representation, was the slogan of revolution used by the American colonists. Patrick Henry was famous for his oratory skills. An unwavering patriot, skilled politician and lawyer, whose life and opinions did not always line up with other founders. Henry did not attend a university. His father, being an educated man, tutored him, and his mother provided him with his oratorical and religious education by bringing him along to hear numerous Presbyterian speakers across the colony. These speakers had a unique oratorial style, speaking in the people's language and to their hearts, rather than their logic. Henry adapted this style of oration to the political sphere throughout his life, which enabled him to become somewhat of a backwoods Virginia hero. In 1765, Henry won a seat in the Virginia House of Burgesses. When he arrived, the Burgesses were debating the Stamp Act of 1764, which was a part of a long list of acts established by British Parliament, imposing taxes and regulations on the American colonies. Acts such as the Navigation Act of 1651, the Molasses Act of 1733, the Currency Act of 1751, the Sugar Act of 1764, and now the Stamp Act. At this session, Henry introduced the Stamp Act Resolves, which would establish that Virginian colonists had the same rights as British citizens, and that taxation without representation is tyranny. More acts from England followed, the Declaratory Act of 1766, and the Townshend Act of 1767. In 1770, anger was growing, when in Boston, a mob of colonists confronted British soldiers in the streets of Boston, which became known as the Boston Massacre. 5 colonists were killed and 6 wounded in the incident. With the anger of the American colonists growing, the Tea Act of 1773 stirred the colonists to react with the Boston Tea Party, where a group of up to 130 men dressed as Mohawk warriors dumped hundreds of chests of tea into the harbor. The British responded with the Coercive or Intolerable Act of 1774. Patrick Henry attended the Virginia Convention from 1774 to 1776, setting out a plan for the colony of Virginia, which was crucial for the nation's independence. Having contact with John and Samuel Adams during this process, they decided to push their respective colonies toward independence. At the Second Virginia Convention, Henry delivered his famous "Give Me Liberty, or Give Me Death" speech. Others in attendance at the speech included Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. The address helped drive prominent Virginians to prepare for war. Prepare they did. On April 14, 1775, the battles had begun in Lexington and Concord. Thus sounded the shot that was heard around the world. The next year, on July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was prepared and signed by 56 patriots, pledging their lives, fortunes and sacred honor. At the successful conclusion of the Revolutionary War, the new government established the framework for this new country, starting with "we, the people," calling it the Constitution of the United States of America, in 1789. Once again, we the people, are questioning whether we are being represented by the government of our choosing. Do they have the right to expect us to be subservient to overwhelming regulations and taxation? Taxation without representation is tyranny. We the people, demand the government voted for in 2020, be instated, or we will reject your regulations and taxation without representation, and replace it with true representation. Let us conclude with one more quote from Patrick Henry. The Constitution is not an instrument to restrain the people, it is an instrument for the people to restrain the government, lest it comes to dominate our lives and interests.